Audrey. Are you ready? Audrey Koenders is from the National Archives of Curaçao.
Curaçao.
Sorry, my apologies. Suriname.
Yes, I'm ready. Let's see if I can share my presentation. Welcome to my presentation. Today, I will share with you a presentation about the National Archives of Suriname. We are collaborating with different community archives, and we're sharing mutual history and memory. So in Suriname, we have different community archives. And I've put down a list of most of the community archives we have in Suriname. The first one is NAKS, na African Kultur Suriname, which translates as or African Culture of Suriname. The second one is the VHGI, and it translates as Japanese Immigration Commemoration Association. The NSHI, the National Hindustani Immigration Foundation, and the VIDS, that is the Association of Indigenous Village Chiefs. And I've seen in the previous presentation, I've seen some things that about the religious community archives, and we also have collaboration with the Roman Catholic Diocese and the Evangelical Brethren Church. This is a list of some of the community archives in Suriname. I could not mention all, but with most of these that are listed here, we have a collaboration, and we have been in contact with them for many years now. With the Roman Catholic Diocese, we have been collaborating for some time now. Their archivists have been trained by the National Archives. When I will use interchangeably National Archives or us or we. If I use we or us, then you know that it refers to the National Archives of Suriname. So the archivists, two archivists of the Roman Catholic Diocese, have been trained by us in restoring various types of archival material, but also in paper restoration. In 2021, under supervision of the head from the restoration department, these archivists have restored some of their vital records. The baptism register and the name register of the enslaved and free 1787 to 1900. In this case, it concerns the registers of Batavia and Hatilion, Coroni, St. Rosa, St. Peter and Paul, and other districts. After restoration, these registers were digitized by the team of the National Archives of Suriname. It is worth mentioning that the archivists, they have followed different types of training, as I mentioned earlier. They have been trained in restoring leather and other types of material, but here they are restoring the paper archives. So the baptism register, which are a part of their vital records. A colleague of mine was writing her research paper on community archives. When she reached out to the people of VHGI, they assisted her, they gave her some information, but they could not assist her in a proper manner because they had no documentation center. So the 21st of January 2022 was a historical moment for them. And that day was the inauguration of their documentation center. And the National Archives of Suriname has had many collaboration. We did many projects, previous projects together with the VHGI. And we were also a big help to them in donating some logistics which they needed to put up their documentation center. But also, the research unit of the National Archives has done lots of oral history projects for the immigrants that were still alive, and these interviews are kept at the National Archives of Suriname. At the day of the inauguration of the documentation center, the chair of VHGI made a remarkable shout out. He said, as is written down at the bottom, we are not the National Archives, but we want to collect everything from everyone who has some information about his or her origin with regard to Japanese art and culture. And I think it's remarkable because he mentions the National Archives, and but he also knows what he wants to achieve with his organization. March 30th, if we talk about sharing mutual memory, then this is a perfect example about sharing mutual memory with community archives. The 30th of March, we opened of the exhibition Manspasi Emancipation was opened by the Minister of Home Affairs. It is the first time since we are here at the National Archives in 2010. It's the first time that we have a mutual exhibition with two community archives. And the two community archives are NACS, which I mentioned earlier, and the other one is the Black Archives. This is a grassroots organization from the Netherlands. In conclusion, I want to say that it is important that National Archives and community archives are in collaboration with each other. In Suriname, we have a crowdsourcing project, VJVS, and Find Yourself, Find Suriname. In this project, we engage with communities, we engage with volunteers, and they help us to transcribe with transcriber software. They transcribe the archives. And the results from this transcribing project is that the archives, which were presented in a way which is not from the is from our own Surinamese perspective. So this project is free, and we are still doing on with our volunteers to continue to transcribe archives and continue to engage with our communities. I have to say this, that the National Archive hands out tools to the community archive. I already mentioned the conservation and the restoration training. Since 2020,
We are not hearing you, Audrey. You start again then?
I was saying that the National Archives of Suriname, we hand out tools to community archives, and some tools could be training, but it is the community the work. And for example, the conservation or restoration training, which I mentioned earlier, but also in 2020, about how to prepare for disaster management. disaster management plan. And other organizations, the people apply what they have learned, that resulted in that the people of the diocese, the archivists of the diocese, they were working at the National Archives in a restoration unit. So they had the tools, but the logistics were a bit poor. But the National Archives is also currently networking to raise funds for a library training for community archives. So from the National Archives perspective, we tried and community archives can do their work in a proper manner. I want to end with this statement that what works for traditional archival institution doesn't have to work for community archives. And I was glad with our keynote speaker, Lorraine, because she asked the question for you. And I have an example.
We are not hearing you, Audrey.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Okay. As a young archivist in 2010, I was asked by the people of NAX to archives. And I went for a visit to look and other levels of describing another method, and I advised them how they could arrange and and now they have their own archive. It is accessible for everyone, and they did a great job further, and our collaboration is ongoing. I thank you for your time.